Hi everyone, Tony here, just talking about probably absolutely nothing, which is fine because part of my goal is to be able to make a presentation, at least put together something every single day. I don't know how that goal is going to be working out, but we will do the best we can because some of what we're doing is talking about actually things that matter. The odd thing is that I don't know what matters at the moment. I don't know what it is that I should be talking about. Apart from the fact that I set myself this goal that at least every day, and I haven't. So it's really odd, isn't it, when you set yourself a goal and you certainly don't follow it through, because I haven't followed my goal through because I haven't done this every day, but I'm working on it. So it isn't like, you have to achieve everything that one sets out to achieve, but you should at least put a reasonable effort into it. So I hope as this week progresses, we will come across something that resembles a conversation, perhaps, and that as time goes by, I might find more and more interesting things to talk about. And one of the most interesting things I'm going to do at the moment is turn off my bloody phone, because it does tend to ring, even though it's sort of 9 o'clock at night at the moment when I'm recording this, but it does tend to interfere with what's going on. So one of the things I guess that I've been thinking about was, and this sounds really odd, but it's about why I resist putting up one of these feeds. Now, the interesting thing is no one watches them, so what's the big deal? But by putting forward myself in this way, am I exposing myself in some way? Am I likely to say something that's stupid? Am I likely to say something that's likely to get me into trouble? Into trouble with whom? I do not know. But it is an opportunity to kind of diarise where I am at this particular point, and I don't know whether anybody gives a shit as to where Tony Tonkin is right now. But it's an opportunity to kind of debrief about life and where I sit, and maybe with a little bit of luck it might be helpful to, for others to become aware of where they also sit, and maybe some people, who knows, might be able to relate to where I'm at the moment. And one of the reasons actually why I wanted to do this feed tonight was that I bought myself this whip bang microphone. So over the years I've slowly built up a system which was designed to improve the type of feeds and broadcasting that I do, not just here but with the Child Protection Party. And it's got to a point whereby I've got so many friggin' microphones and equipment that in my office here, it looks more like a studio than an office. I feel sorry for my clients when they walk in. They must wonder what in the hell's going on. I had one guy suggest that perhaps I was a professional photographer because I've got so many lights and stuff hanging around the place. And then I had to tell him that I just do these podcasts and do some stuff for the Child Protection Party, at which point he became totally disinterested. So I thought, well, I wasn't here to talk about me anyway. We were here to talk about you. So let's get stuck into it, which we did. So the goal is, anyway, to continue to do something every day that I find that I don't want to do. Basically, that's it. So it's much easier to, I reckon, it's easier to sit back and avoid the things that make us feel uncomfortable than it is to actually do them. So what you're seeing now, this presentation and me here, is, I guess, me being relatively uncomfortable. Normally when I have, because I do a number of live feeds for the Child Protection Party, but this is kind of more personal in a way, because when I'm doing the live feeds on CPP, it's about issues that obviously concern me and concern the people that are interested in Child Protection Party, and it's specific. But this stuff these conversations are about where I'm at in my world and the things that concern me. And some of those things will be political, and some of them might be family. Some of them might be about sport. And I'm sure that'll bore most people, because a lot of people that will watch this will not be from South Australia or Australia, and they won't give a shit about this stuff that I'm talking about in relation to sport. And a lot of the stuff I'll talk about, I think, will be about things which make our lives better, or that I believe are likely to make to help to improve at least the way we think about ourselves and the way we think about life in general. And so the reason for these podcasts is that I don't want to do them, but I am, because I said that I would, and I am. And it's not about how long it takes. I don't care. And if, as time goes on, if more and more people watch these videos apart from just me, perhaps you could have suggestions about things that you would like me to talk about. And of course, if there are people that would like to join in on these conversations, then I'm more than happy to have those conversations with you through Rendezvous, which is the software I use. So, but one of the things that has happened, though, is apart from this wonderful microphone I now have, it's just magnificent. Very disappointed, though, because with all the equipment I spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on it, I've lost track of how much money I spent on all the equipment I've got. But the sound equipment I have, I'm not using at the moment. I will use it if I have other people in here and I do a studio type thing. I will use it. But this particular microphone, it was just a USB mic, is fabulous and has a whole lot of features that I don't think I'll ever use. And one of them that I will not use is improving my voice, because my voice is crap, but it won't improve it. Bugger. I want a microphone that makes me sound, rich, and like Dennis Cometti, who's a sports commentator here in Australia. I want a voice that sounds like that. But I also want a face and a body that looks like Sean Connery. That's not going to happen either. So I guess I'll just have to settle for what we've got. And here it is. But what was I going to say then? So I do this stuff where I sidetrack myself, which is really annoying. It's like there's two parts of me. There's this part that wants to be focused and talk about a specific thing. There's the other part of me that wants to take this divergent road somewhere that leads to nowhere. And I seem to be able to do that pretty well, often enough. It was about actually reevaluating. That's right. It was reevaluating where your life is. So I'm not going to tell people how old I am, because that would be unfair, because there'd be many people out there who would be jealous. So to think that I look so much younger than I actually am would be horrifying to so many people. So, but I have been rethinking about which direction my life should be going in lately. So one of the things I've been doing for many, many years is working in the area of child protection as an advocate, so as a social worker, but working as an advocate. Now, I've been doing that, I estimate, for about 12 years. It seems like it's been going on for about 20 years, but I think my first client was about 12, 13 years ago. So I had to settle back and think about what direction this is taking, because I've got a number of areas that I work in that are about child protection. So one of those areas is with the Child Protection Party, and what I had to weigh up was, do I want to continue working in the party area, the political side of things, or do I want to continue to work in the advocacy side of things? And I clearly needed to, the reason why we set up the Riley Foundation, which is the advocacy side, was to separate the two, because my name as being involved in a political party often created problems when it came to advocacy, because people generally were not able to believe that it's possible for me to do two things at the same time. So they used to. So there's a number of things there that, so the question is, can you belong to a political party and at the same time work as an advocate or a social worker? Which I always thought was rather odd, given the number of lawyers there are out there who are politicians who also have their own practices. They don't give up their practice just because they're a politician. We had a very famous premier here in South Australia called, his name was Playford, and he was premier for many, many years, and he had his own practice that just flourished when he was premier. I'm not suggesting he did anything wrong, but he certainly did maintain his own practice, or the practice, or this very famous practice certainly had his name, Playford and Co. And there are many, Weatherall and others here in South Australia. And there's Nick Xenophon, I think, still maintained his practice. So to have a profession, so do you lose your professional identity once you become a politician? So once you become a politician, do you just become a dickhead? Or do you, or can you maintain your professional standard or standing, or still maintain your membership of that particular organisation if you so desire? I think you can. So I do. But there are people, or there have been people in the past, who don't believe that it's possible to be involved in politics and wanted to change the system for the sake of kids, and to be an advocate or a social worker as well. They just find the two are incompatible. So in order to assist in those erroneous notions, I decided some time ago that we'd separate the Child Protection Party and would start off the advocacy side, because there was a time where within the Child Protection Party we were doing the advocacy stuff and everything else as CPP. So we decided to start an organisation called the Riley Foundation. And I decided to take 2 weeks off, which was partly going away and being present when my daughter gave birth to her beautiful daughter, and for us to look after her other child, who's 16 months. And my wife and I found that tiring, but an absolute delight. And so being a grandparent is something I love doing, mainly because we can hand them back at the end of the day. But all our kids, the two lots of our kids that have got kids, one lives overseas and the other one lives interstate. So we're not very fortunate in being able to be on hands-on, on weekends and during the week type grandparents, because that just doesn't happen because they're so far away. So whenever we can have the opportunity to be with them, though we can, and we did. And I just needed that 2 weeks off really to think about what direction I was taking. So I guess my message is this: if we're feeling bogged down and overwhelmed and wondering what it is that we should be doing with not the rest of our lives, because that's rather a tall order, but if we should be wondering about what we're going to be doing in the not so distant future, like next week. So what are we going to be doing next week that's different? Or how am I going to be thinking about the work that I do differently so that it kind of maintains an interest, or that is still challenging, I guess. And so being away provided me with the opportunity to think about how I was feeling, firstly about just being away. So I had to go up to the Gold Coast to be with my daughter and family. And what was that experience like? And, there's other kids and there's different focus and different environment. And it is just different. But it also provides an opportunity to be away and free from the pressures and the burdens that you feel working from wherever you work from normally. In my case, home, and the city in which I work, and people contacting me and all that stuff. And it was really nice just to leave a message on my phone saying I won't be back until 6th of October, as it was. So when you're away though, and you start thinking about, well, how am I feeling now? And you start to feel relaxed and start to feel a little bit more comfortable about who you are. And you wonder, what were all those pressures that I had? Like, was I able to, have I been able to, I was going to say clever, I don't mean clever at all, but have I been insightful enough to understand what those pressures are? Like, sometimes I reckon we kind of just mosey through life, and we have there's these scales that sort of form on our body that just build up over time, and we become impervious to them, kind of like they're thick, but they're rugged, and they prevent us from feeling other stuff that's happening around us. And it isn't until we dispense with them, or at least acknowledge that they're there, I guess, that we start to see ourselves differently. Anyway, at the end of the day, I could see that I had been burdening myself with all of this other stuff around the advocacy stuff in particular, and I needed to let it go, which I have. And there's a part of me that thinks, well, did I acquiesce to child protection system because they kept on having a go at me about doing advocacy and therapy work and this sort of shit together? And I haven't. Like, how long do you keep working at something until one day you just think, okay, I don't know if I want to do it anymore? So that's kind of like the truth of where I've been at. And what things, and so I thought, well, what things do I want to start to do that are significant to me? And one of them was this, doing these sorts of feeds, doing Facebook feeds for the party and stuff like that. Because I kind of like the technology and I like messing around with it and putting in these fancy backgrounds and stuff. That was one thing. And then I thought, well, I still enjoy what I've been doing as a therapist for 30 years. So I don't want that to drop away at all. And I do need some income. So that provides partly some of that. And then what else did I want to do? I wanted to take 2 days off a week. Now, it doesn't mean I stop working, whatever that might mean, but it does mean that I'm not seeing people in those 2 days. So that's Wednesdays and Fridays. And if I want to play golf, I can go and play golf. If I want to do a feed like this, I can do a feed. If I want to just sit and read a book or do some research or write a book, whatever it is I want to do, I can now do, because I've set myself 2 days aside out of the 5-day week in order to do that. So that's kind of like where I am at the moment. And I guess if there's someone who is silly enough to watch this video, ask yourself, where are you at the moment? Like, what are you doing? What part of your life do you want to change? How do you want to change that part of your life? Like, when I was, and I'll finish off with this, folks, I won't bore you for much longer, but when I was 40, and I just remarried, I looked at my life and thought, nope, didn't like the way it was going at all, because it was going absolutely nowhere. Didn't have an education, didn't like what I was doing, hated myself. I saw the first 40 years of my life as like a vacuum. So I decided to go back to high school, because I never passed anything while I was at school. And then I went on to university to do my 4-year degree in social work. And prior to actually going to school, I started working at Lifeline as a counsellor, which is the reason why I chose to go. I go to back to high school to get my certificate so I could go on to university. And I guess no matter what job we're doing and what we're doing, we need to reevaluate as to whether it fits with us or not. Now, I've always been confident that social work and the values that social workers should hold, or that we do as a profession hold, fit with me. That's why I chose to become a social worker. But the type of work we do and how we do it always has to be under reevaluation. Is it? I think that sometimes I see this particularly in the child protection system, where people become accustomed to working in a certain way, and it almost seems normal, when in actual fact it isn't. It's far from normal. That it seems to be right or justifiable when it's not right, nor is it by any stretch of the imagination justifiable from a professional point of view. So there comes a time though where we need to make that assessment, and we need to make that assessment often. And so I've been fortunate enough to be able to go away and do that and come back and feel better for it. And I hope that there are people that are watching this that can be thinking about how you wish to reevaluate your life and where you're going, and what's been helpful to you. And I know that I'm the only person that will probably ever review this video, but that's not the point. The point is, if you're watching this, you're one of a rare group of people, and you need to be celebrated for it. And I don't care who's watching it. This is a project to see if I can put up one every day, and see if I can find something of value to talk about every day without repeating myself. Once I start repeating myself, I'll go and get a dementia and Alzheimer's test to see whether I'm functioning okay. But if you do happen to be watching this, I want to thank you for at least spending this time with me, and let me know that you've been here, maybe, and let me know if there's something that you would like to talk about, because we can discuss things around any subject you like, really. I'm a social worker of 30 years standing, and I do understand a wee bit about therapy and about how to work with people. So let me know, and we'll have that conversation. In the meantime, take care of yourself and just focus on the things that matter.